Greetings, rockers and metalheads! My name is Warbird, and welcome to another tier list album video thingy thing. Yeah. Uh, Today's episode, as you can see here from the title of the video and right here on the screen, right where I have this text, we're doing a Led Zeppelin album tier list, including Coda. This is probably going to be a really short list solely because there's not really a whole lot of albums compared to other bands that we just looked at from the last couple videos. And this one's going to have a general theming here, and you'll see what I mean. And if you don't know what I mean by that, Led Zeppelin is my favorite band ever, and one of their albums is my favorite album of all time, like, period. And I love this band. I love Led Zeppelin. Like, this band has gotten me through so much musical influence and true passion for music as a whole, and or even just like rock as a whole, and even some metal influences here and there. And there's so much flavor that Zeppelin has done in the past throughout all these albums that it really just skyrocketed to see, like, okay, this is just awesome. Sorry for the last couple weeks without an upload. Just been busy with a whole lot of stuff, so sorry about that. I'll try to get more videos on this channel. Plus, I did one video on my second channel, Warbird Alt, and made a video on there not too long ago. Actually did pretty well, but I'll try to get more videos on this channel, see what we do from there. And other than that, let's just get to ranking Led Zeppelin, or as I like to call it, Zeppelin 1, because it is the first album. I love this album. Before I listened to Zeppelin 4 at a specific time, this was like my cream and butter. Like, this album is just like, man, this was my bread and butter, man. Like, this album is just classic. This is just awesome. It's just an absolute explosion. Now, I was thinking about either putting this at like A or B, but it's the first couple of albums is actually just going to be pretty similar to Black Sabbath, so other than that, I besides some spots here and there being a little rough throughout the production of this album, since it is pretty damn raw, I think top to bottom this album is absolutely spectacular. Good Times, Bad Times, what a really sick, awesome opener. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, a beautiful, beautiful tune. You Shook Me is pretty cool. Dazed and Confused, I absolutely love that. When I talk about heavy metal influences, that song is pretty much up there. Like, it's not Sabbath material yet, but it's really getting there with a song like Dazed and Confused. And that's just side one. Side one is freaking amazing. And then you get to side two, it's also freaking amazing. You get to side two and you got Your Time Is Gonna Come. Just, man, that's one of my least favorites, but you know what? It's so great. Black Mountainside, no, there's another one that's gonna come after that. Black Mountainside, a really beautiful instrumental track, very acoustic and everything. Communication Breakdown, what an absolute banger of a song. Love that tune. It's very simple. It's very similar to Good Times, Bad Times, but that one I generally prefer more. My least favorite is probably what is the next track? It's oh, it's I Can't Quit You Baby. It's literally the first lines that you think of. There we go. All right, yeah. My least favorite is I Can't Quit You Baby cuz it I think the reason why that one is my least favorite off of this album, since one, it's a cover, and two, it really feels directionless. Like there's not really a whole lot of creative direction that the song is taken forward to. Like it's literally just sloppy blues, and that's all it really is. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think the song is fairly nice to listen to. I just never was crazy about it compared to what other people say. And then the absolute gargantuan, just how many more times, just wow, that what an absolute awesome closer to that album. And just overall, just Zeppelin 1 is just purely just amazing. It's just awesome. I love this album. This one is generally one of my least favorites, besides a couple more that I'll not really a big fan of later on. But you know what? This album is super influential. It is super important, and it just generally just brilliant. Like I like think of anything negative I said besides the critiques of I Can't Quit You Baby. Like I really cannot think of much. Like this album is just amazing. It's super important, and generally I think like I've gotten some slack before. I generally think this is the first hard rock album ever created, in my opinion. Yeah, sure, you got some other stuff here and there from the previous years. You got some Jimi Hendrix. Maybe a little bit of the Doors. Maybe maybe you got a little bit of Cream, Blue Cheer. That one I actually never. That's a band I actually need to listen to, but that's another influence. But other than that, I mean, and even then, just like I don't really consider them to be full on hard rock bands compared to this album. I genuinely think this is just a amazing album. Besides a lot of the covers on here, my favorite is probably "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You," though. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. I'm actually probably talking too much, so I'll just go into the next album. So let's go to Zeppelin 2. And a general theme that you'll notice is that I prefer this over Zeppelin 1. Just a little bit. Not by much, because I still love this album. But wow, Zeppelin 2 just kicks it up a whole notch, man. Now, as much as I love Whole Lotta Love, I do think that one is a bit overplayed. And it only gets even more overplayed over time. But other than that, I think like that riff is just god dang. What talk about iconic, man. Like holy crap, like what a just an awesome riff right there. And it goes on to What Is and What Should Never Be, a very moody cool track. Lemon Song is another very bluesy song, and that one I gotta say is just awesome. I actually really like the musical direction in that one a lot, and then man, a beautiful. And then the next track is just so beautiful, and the next one is Thank You. Like it is so gorgeous. Like I love the music in that one. And then you go on to Heartbreaker. Dude, honestly, one of my personal favorite Jimmy Page solos ever. I love that one. Live and Love and Made, probably my least favorite on here. I'll think about it more though. Alright, but even then, still a banger track, despite what Jimmy Page says. And you go on to Ramble On, just an awesome song. And you go on to Moby Dick. Oh my gosh, besides the awesome cool riff that plays throughout Moby Dick, oh my gosh, what a killer drum solo from John Bonham. Like, when people say the brilliance of John Bonham, like, most of it will be from, like, these couple albums here and there, these later on albums here and there. But talk about a drum solo. Like, this is some of Bonham's best work, honestly, in my opinion. Like, this is just. It is just. That's Zeppelin for you. And in the last track, and it just goes on to the last track, just Bring It On Home. That one's just pretty fun. It's not one of my top favorites, but it's a pretty fun track. Very cool closer to the album. Other than that, like I said, I genuinely prefer this over Led Zeppelin 1. And I really don't really have much critiques over it. Maybe other than maybe Live and Love and May, but even then, that one's still a banger track. Um, and it just keeps getting better! Yeah! Led Zeppelin 3! Noticing a pattern here? Led Zeppelin 3 is even better than the second album. Why? Because side 1 is so damn awesome. Besides Immigrant, okay, I have mixed feelings about Immigrant Song. Besides it being an absolute banger, it's one of those tracks I kind of just don't really want to hear again. But besides that, Friends, Celebration Day, Since I've Been Loving You. Oh my goodness. Easily my favorite track off of that album. Since I've Been Loving You is such a moody, dark, beautiful track. It is just, it's so powerful. And it goes on to the very last one too, on side 1, and it's Out of the Tiles. You thought I was going to be gushing on side 1. Side 2 is pretty dang good too. Gallows Pole, Tangerine, That's the Way, which was my favorite for quite a while, if anything. And then go on to Born You Are Stomp, and then, okay, let's be honest. Hats Off to Roy Harbour. I get that people don't like Hats Off to Roy Harbour. I can understand that. I think the vocal delivery on that track in particular was a little. It's weird because it sounds raw, but it's might be a little overproduced because of how many filters Robert's vocals on that track. But I'm gonna defend it a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It might be because Zeppelin's my favorite band. I might be a little biased. I think I'm gonna defend it a little bit. Like, yeah, it's bad, but like, I think what I like about that track is just how strange the album ends, and that it's just, it ends at a super bizarre note and ends at a really strange way. Like you could have went on to like a beautiful track or anything like that, but no, it's just super psychedelic. It's super weird. It's super bizarre. And like the bizarre factor of the song is actually kind of why I like it, actually. But in terms of sound, yeah, it's sometimes it's just straight up unlistenable in my opinion. So other than that, I love this I genuinely love this album. Oh, and it only gets better, people. Except if you already saw my last videos, then you probably guessed what my favorite is for this one. I'll just go ahead and put it up there. Led Zeppelin 4. And if you've been listening for a while, you probably remember that I said that one of these albums is my favorite album of all time. This is it, baby. I'm in love with this album, if anything, more than anything. I love this so much that I almost have I actually have 2 copies of this, which is, well, I have most copies for Led Zeppelin, but this one I just cherish the most. Both sides of the album is just jam-packed with just genuine masterpieces of songs, and I genuinely cannot think of any besides one critique off of this album, which I'll get to. I genuinely don't think there's nothing wrong with this album at all. I think the album cover here is iconic as the sun, as the moon. I think I think top to bottom, I think, like I said, top to bottom, this album is amazing. Black Dog, vocal vocal riff, vocal riff, and it's just like that the whole time, and it's just wow, what an absolute awesome opener. And it goes on to rock and roll even more, just jam packed with just pure, just hard rock and headbanging and just like that. It's just amazing. And then this is the part where people usually get off of this album, but I genuinely think Battle of Evermore is an absolute fun and beautiful track, in my opinion. I think that one is super underrated. And then it's funny because Stairway, this is my critique about this one. Stairway, I will agree that Stairway to Heaven is generally one of the most overplayed songs in history, to the point where I genuinely don't need to hear it again. But what's good about it is that Stairway is my favorite song of all time. I think Stairway to Heaven is, it's just my favorite song of all time, and that the way the song progresses to be more harder and more and gets louder over time through the 8-minute track is just amazing, and each note was basically just perfected, besides the solo at the end, which Jimmy Page had to do at the end, if you did not know that. But just the first part of that song is beautiful, and then it just goes on to just bring up more hope, and then it just gets so damn epic at the end. Just the solo, oh my gosh, that is Jimmy Stairway to Heaven solo is my favorite solo of all time. It is so jam-packed with soul and passion and love, and it's just filled with epicness. It's just, oh, I love, despite it being an overplayed song and, a song that you generally don't want to hear at Guitar Center, Stairway to Heaven is my favorite. And that's just side one, okay? That's just side one. And then we go to side two. Misty Mountain Hop, man. Amazing. Just an amazing track. 4 Sticks, super underrated. Going to California, one of the most gorgeous ballads I've ever heard. I probably prefer it over Thank You from Led Zeppelin 2. And then we go on to one of my top favorite Zeppelin songs, When the Levee Breaks. Oh my gosh. What an absolute, chaotic and just crazy song of When the Levee Breaks. It's just, oh my gosh. It's that track is so unbelievably heavy. It is just pure iconic and just amazing. And just, please, anyone who hasn't listened to Led Zeppelin 4, or even just Led Zeppelin as a whole, listen to the whole thing and just truly appreciate what this album has done. I will never say that anything else is my favorite of all time. Zeppelin 4 is my favorite of all time. Best album of all time, in my opinion. Hands down. Love Zeppelin 4. We'll go on to Houses of the Holy. I love this album too. Hell, there was so many times to where this one was my favorite over Led Zeppelin 4, genuinely. But the reason why I like Zeppelin 4 more is because I think it's really just because there was a rough time in production for this one, and even just a little bit for the next album. But other than that, even with the messy track listing off of this album, I will agree that it's not perfect, but just because it ain't perfect doesn't mean that, the track listing is bad. You go on to Song Remains the Same. one of my favorite openers of all time, and then you just go on to my second favorite Zeppelin song, or even just my favorite. Like I said, this one has, I put it over Stairway to Heaven sometimes, but I put Stairway to Heaven over it, and just overall this album as a whole is just better in my opinion. But the Rain song, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Like, there is just nothing wrong with that song. There is like all the way from start to finish, it's just gorgeous. And there's so many just so many epic parts, and just so many interesting parts about the song that just gets me hooked, and it just feels so much joy, man. It's just a beautiful, beautiful 7-minute track, man. Love Rain song. And then we go on to Over the Hills and Far Away. That one's pretty great as well. And we go on to the crunch. Like, I will say that the reason why I would put Houses over 3 is because at least I can listen to the crunge over Hats Off to Roy Harbor. I will admit that a funk song in a Zeppelin album is a bit weird, but you know what? I can still I honestly still think the crunge is actually not too bad of a song in my opinion. It's honestly pretty fun if you actually think about it, and if you actually listen to it before. So yeah, but other than that, we go on to side 2. Dancing Days, absolute banger song. Dire Maker, super interesting song with a lot of reggae influences. Super weird, but you know what? It works. No Quarter. Wow, what an absolute moody, dark song. That one's just, oh my gosh, it's just, listen to that one just gives me chills every time I listen to it. And then we go on to The Ocean. Banger. What, like you could have ended the album on No Quarter, but I'm fine with The Ocean. And overall as a song, banger. They're like just I love this album. Like, besides the very questionable album cover, the actual music in this is just amazing. Like, there's just not really a whole lot of problems with it, in my opinion. Love Houses of the Holy. Love it. Then we go into Physical Graffiti. I prefer this over Zeppelin 3 in my opinion. But this one, like, these 3 are just basically the holy trinity of Zeppelin in my opinion. And then I put this one last. I put these 2 over Physical Graffiti is kind of because it's just a little too long for my liking. Just so when it comes to double albums, I will generally make sure that the double album is usually not my favorite unless there's like some kind of unique factor going on. Take for instance, like if you take something like Layla from Derek and the Dominoes, it's like it's not really fair because that's the only album they really have. Or if you take like Jimi Hendrix Electric Ladyland, for example, that one is my favorite Jimi Hendrix album. Sorry for the spoiler, by the way. Is because it basically it basically just captivates everything I love from Jimi Hendrix, and he took so many unique directions, and especially taking in more prog elements into his music compared to the first psychedelic albums that he did. The only real problem with most of those albums is that they're a little too long for my liking. Like, yeah, it's a double album, but if you ever want to whenever they say like, oh, you're going to listen to the thing as a whole, then, well, you would listen to both albums on this double album here. So, but other than that, this is probably in my opinion, one of the best double albums. In my opinion, it's probably not my most favorite. It was for a little while, but I do think that there's better double albums in my opinion. I don't think there's any skippable tracks on here. I genuinely think that every track on here is amazing. Custard Pie, The Rover, In My Time of Dying. What a genuinely awesome slide guitar bluesy track. Uh, Strangely, House of the Holy, the title track of this album, appeared on the next one instead on Physical Graffiti. Good song. I just wish it was on this one instead, but whatever. Trampled Underfoot, banger track. Cashmere. A little overplayed, but the musical, it's basically like it's like a diet stairway in my opinion. I don't know if that's a hot take or if that's a controversial take or whatever, but that's basically what I see. And even then, I don't see that as a bad thing since I love Stairway so much. Like, Cashmere is such a heavy, just a crazy heavy track for something like Zeppelin. It's just so awesome. It's amazing. And then you go on to End the Light, which is the next, which is the third part of the album. It's just, wow, what a beautiful track. And then you go into Brognoir, not Stomp from the third album. Honestly, strange take. That one's probably my favorite instrumental of all time. There might be some over it, but like whenever I think of favorite instrumentals, that one usually comes up in my opinion a lot. So that one's just a beautiful little piece there. And you go on to Down by the Seaside, very fun, beautiful track there. 10 Years Gone. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful track there. It ain't up to level with these, but my third favorite Zeppelin song, in my opinion. And you go on to, so then Night Flight, or Side 4, does drop off quite a bit, especially with like the last couple tracks, in my opinion. But even then, some of them are pretty fun to listen to. Like Night Flight, that one's really, really good. Next one is Wonton Song. That one's amazing in my opinion. And you go on, this is the part where the album drops off a little bit. Boogie with Stew, fairly weak in my opinion, but it's still a pretty fun track. Same thing with Black Country Woman. Not the greatest track, but I can still listen to it. It's pretty fun. And then you go on to Sick Again. Pretty heavy track. I just don't really like the backstory of it, in my opinion. It's kind of, it's pretty dark. But, Physical Graffiti is a pretty damn good it's a pretty good, double album. Like I said, probably one of the best double albums of all time. And, this is the part of the Discog to where it drops off quite a bit. I almost want to put this at B tier because like half of the songs are great and then the other half is fine for what it is. But it's my list. I'll see what I do then. Presence was my least favorite Zeppelin album for a little while. Or actually quite a bit. Maybe for like a year or two. But I think this album is pretty underrated, alright? So, probably worse than the first two albums, but there is a lot of musical direction with this album, especially with the first track. Achilles' Last Stand is ungodly amazing. Like, wow. Achilles' Last Stand is just so amazing. I love that opening track there with just a 10-minute prog epic. And it's just, man, I could just listen to that for days, man. And this is part of the this is the part where it just goes like For Your Life. Not one of the top favorite Zeppelin songs, but you know what? It's actually pretty good. Royal Orleans, I think, was the next one. It's okay. I can listen to it pretty well. Nobody's Fault But Mine. Banger track. Love that one. I don't really have any problems with it. Pretty great. Candy Store Rock. It's Again, it's okay. I can listen to it fine. Or for the most part. Um, um, Hot Off no to Nowhere. I think it was the next one. Again, it's okay. T for One. If I love Since I've Been Loving You, like it's the next coming of Christ. This is like the other coming of Christ. I genuinely think T for One is super underrated. There was a time where I preferred it over Since I've Been Loving You, but like this album as a whole is way better in my opinion. Besides Hats Off to Roy Harbour, but yeah, I think T for One is moody. It's super great. There's just a lot of great music in that one. There's just not really much problems with it. But as an album, it's got some weak spots here and there, but it's still pretty dang good. Like I said, I think it's super underrated in my opinion. Same with this one, but this is the part of the Zeppelin discog to where it's strange because I actually put this at like my top 4 at one point, where because I'd said like, okay, this album is super underrated. I think this album is actually not as bad as people make it out to be, and I still really think that. I genuinely tell anyone to say like, oh, and Through the Outdoors is pretty bad, and it's like, nah, man, listen to it. It's pretty damn good. Like in terms of musical direction, I think I have finally noticed that it has gotten a little softer in terms of the sound. Some people said it was like poppy, and I still don't get that. Like, no, this is still a hard rock album. Throughout the whole discog is basically hard rock. But I think this album is pretty great. I'll just go through the track listing again. Um, in the Evening, but it gets repetitive a little bit over time, but I think the music in that one is pretty great. Southbound Sorrows, I think that's how you say it. I think that one's pretty cool. I actually like the music in that one pretty well. Full in the Rain, love that track. I love Full in the Rain. Super duper underrated track in my opinion. And then you go on to Hot Dog. I never was that crazy about that one. It's a fun song, don't get me wrong. It's a very, very silly song in my opinion. And then Caro Alhambra was my favorite for quite a while, and it's still one of my top favorite Zeppelin songs ever. But I actually know that one's also pretty underrated as well. It's about as good as Achilles' Last Stand in my opinion. But yeah, I think that one's pretty great as well. All My Love was the big hit off of this album, I think. Maybe no. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Besides Full in the Rain, the All My Love was the big hit, I think, as far as I remember. That one was I'd say that one is my favorite. I love the back. I genuinely think the backstory on that one is genuinely sad. I think All My Love is a genuinely hard song to listen to. Not that it's bad. I think it's one of the best songs ever written, in my opinion. Like, I think Robert Plant's writing on that song in particular is like top tier. It's just beautiful, super sad, and everything like that. And then I'm Gonna Crawl. Nothing too special about it, but I do think that one is pretty great as well. I think the music in that one is great. And that one actually marks as the very, very last track of the Led Zeppelin's discog. And this was, as a whole, I think And Through the Outdoor is a very underrated album, but I will say that it is probably, besides the next album we're talking about, which I'm going to have a hot take here real quick, this one is generally the weakest album in my opinion. And there's, compared to the other stuff before, like, there's like, you would generally want to hear these albums more. But I will generally tell anyone that if you don't like anything after Physical Graffiti, listen to these 2 albums. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that. And yeah, I'm gonna put that in B tier. So don't get me wrong, this album is pretty good to listen through all the way through. We're Gonna Groove is pretty cool, despite it being a live track. Poor Tom is pretty cool. I Can't Quit You, Babe, good track, but that's a live version. Plus, I would rather listen to it on this album, in my opinion. Um, Walter's Walk is pretty cool. Uh, Darlene is fine for what it is, and you know, you know, as an album, it's it's fine for what it is, and overall, listening to it all the way through is pretty cool. My hot take is that I don't really consider this to be a full studio album. It's weird having live tracks, well, it's weird having live tracks on this album and just generally having an album, after a band member's passing death is just strange to release after that point. It's just super weird in my opinion. Like there's not really a lot of room for error, and I think it's just really, really weird. And and the strangest part is that this was considered to be not really a studio album for a long time. Like I still consider this to be it's basically a compilation album. Like, and then people say oh, but Physical Graffiti was also a compilation album as well because it's still it just stole stuff from all the way up to Led Zeppelin three. And it's like, I mean, on that part, sure, but it's still a studio album either way because it's still, the band members are still alive, all alive and everything like that, and and there's no live tracks, right? So having something like that throughout Coda is, like I said, it's bizarre. And I don't want this video to get too controversial. I hope not, but that's what I have to say about that. I don't it. But if we're counting this as even then, if we're counting this as an actual album, this one would be the bottom of the barrel in my opinion. There's not really I would generally tell anyone to just listen to the whole 8 albums, and you just say oh, but what? There's a knife one, and I'll talk about that. But as an album, it's fine. It's good for what it is. I don't really I don't. It's just it's whatever. But other than that, that's my whole list. If you haven't noticed already, I put most of the stuff in A tier besides Zeppelin 4 being an S because it's genuinely one of the best albums ever created in my opinion, and then Coda's yeah, it's good for what it is in B tier. But these in A tier, these are great albums. Like anyone who hasn't listened to it is seriously missing out. If you love hard rock, what are you doing? You need to listen to these albums. Well, unless you don't have the time to, and then it's whatever. But I said that Zeppelin is my favorite band of all time, so I am a bit biased, and I wish I would put this at a more reasonable list. So if I had a more reasonable list, this would probably be my ranking, something like that. But it even then, it feels super dirty doing something like that. So I just keep him to where I had him right there. So there you go. So anyways, hopefully I get the next video sometime soon. I think the next video I'm probably going to do is Judas Priest. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, I don't really have much to say, but feel free to subscribe, like, comment, and everything like that. Whatever you guys want to do here and there, blah, 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 blah. Other than that, I'm going to head out, go do stuff, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. And yeah, rock on!